Welcome back, everybody. It's a sunny day over here in Shelton at the HAN Network. It's Denise DiGrigoli live every Tuesday, 12:30 here on HAN. What is The Drive? It's about motivational, conscious living. We seek to bring people together, places together, ideas and organizations together that help us all move together mindfully and consciously. And we start our broadcast every Tuesday with a mindful minute. And because we're talking about leadership and conscious capitalism and ways to bring a better business model into practice that serve us all, I want to start today with a little something I found on iMom. And just a little reminder, we are not paid for any of our endorsements or any of the things I say. I just come to you with things that I like and admire. So today's tip is how to raise a future leader. And I thought these tips were very, very valuable. Let them solve their own problems. Teach them how to make decisions, help them practice their listening skills. I mean, I think some of us can do that as adults. Apologize when necessary, encourage them to start something new, and allow them to delegate. Those are my tips in my Mindful Minute. Whether you're raising a child or not, you probably have people in your life, and if you're running a business, raising leaders is something we should do all the time, every time. So that is my little segue into a wonderful conversation today with our friend Larry Bingaman of the Regional Water Authority. Welcome back, Larry.
Very
Thanks
good to be
for coming.
Here, Denise. Thank you so much. Good to be here.
I know that you've been at the Regional Water Authority since 2009, and you've really been doing great things with the sustainability and conscious business practices. So I don't want to steal your thunder. I want to know, how do you do that? Because that seems like a huge task. I mean, we know water's clean and we know it's sustainable, but now you're mixing conscious business practices. Tell me a little bit about what you've been doing there.
Well, it actually goes back to 2009 when I joined the organization, and we had, of course, experienced the financial crisis in 2008. That caused customers to stop paying their bills because of financial hardships. We were experiencing an ongoing decline in water consumption. So the leadership team and I banded together and developed our first strategic plan based on the balanced scorecard. And through that, we were able to get employees to start working in goal teams and start collaborating. And that collaborative process has really had some amazing impacts on the organization. And so that today, it's a better place to work, we provide better customer service, we're financially stronger, and our processes are more efficiently because of the way employees have banded together and collaborated in order to improve the organization. And that's really where it started, with the leadership team setting the path, setting the vision, and then the employees working on that through their goal teams.
So when the leadership team got together and designed this path, what was it like to get the employees to collaborate? Because just as in my Mindful Minute, I know in raising a family, not everyone listens all the time, nor do they want to listen to each other.
That's true.
So what do you do to, and I'm not necessarily you, but what do you do to get your teams to listen and collaborate together? So this is a very important thing in stuff we're going to be talking about in just a minute.
Well, it is, and the organization had, like many organizations, had been used to operating in silos. So employees didn't necessarily always think about what the impact of their actions might be on another department, for instance. So we started talking about that and started talking about the impact that an employee's actions may have on another department, and we would bring those examples up. But also, as employees started working in goal teams, and they would see that a particular goal that they're working on had implications for across the organization, and we had goal teams made up of bargaining unit employees, managers, supervisors, all levels in the organization were involved in it. So when they were talking about working on a particular goal, they would see that, gee, if I take this action, it not only impacts my department, but it'll impact, 2 or 3 other departments. So they started seeing it just by working on goal teams.
So in my tenure many years ago, they used to put the salespeople in the production department so that they could experience what the poor dudes in production went through, or in the accounting department. Is it that easy nowadays? When you have all these different people from bargaining units to the people on the ground level, how did you get them to actually experience this one decision will impact this, and this in your in your corporation or your team?
Well, we would have a goal team leader, and usually that at that time it was a leadership team member would lead a particular goal team, and they would have an employee that worked with them as the co-lead of the goal team. So they would look at the goal and talk about what they were trying to achieve, and then the employees would start putting together the obstacles that were standing in the way of achieving it. And sometimes they would see, gee, it's not only the work that I'm doing, but it's also the work of other departments that might be causing a particular issue, achieving a goal. And then they'd start talking about how they can solve it. And then they would see that that really did cross departmental lines. So they really taught themselves through that goal team process.
So you come on to the Regional Water Authority, people aren't paying their bills, people are used to working in silos. What was your motivation or passion? Like, what drove you? I mean, I know what drives me. I'm a very passionate person about what I'm interested in. What drove you? Like, what made you want to bring this to your organization?
Well, first of all,
I know it wasn't an accident. Let's just say that.
No, not all. First of all, I had worked at another utility for some almost 20 years, and public water supply really became a passion for me. It's really providing a vital community service. And so I loved working in the water industry to begin with. So that was a passion. And the Regional Water Authority, when I came on board, saw that it had so much potential. And I knew the organization from when I was working in another utility, and saw that it had so much potential. So I like being a change agent for the positive, and not for the sake of change, but to make things better for everybody, for the employees, for customers, for the communities in which we do business. So it was that passion of having that continuous improvement in order to make the operation of the organization better for everybody concerned, all the stakeholders.
So when you arrived and you're sort of the do-gooder, did you get any pushback?
Well, as I said, they had been used to operating in silos, and they didn't quite understand the full implications of the financial crisis that we were experiencing. And I said we had ongoing decline in consumption, in water consumption. Matter of fact,
Really?
since 1990, our consumption has declined at about 1% a year. So in
Are people taking less showers? I mean, what are they doing?
Well, it was brought about by the plumbing standards that were passed in the mid-1990s that mandated things like low-flow toilets, water-efficient appliances, low-flow dishwashers, et cetera. So that's caused an ongoing decline in water consumption. So in 1999-2000, we were producing 56 million gallons of water a day.
Wow.
That's declined at 1% a year, so that at the end of 2015, we're producing 45 million gallons of water a day on average through the course of a year. So many employees were not aware of that decline and what that meant for the organization. So the leadership team and I started having regular meetings with employee groups talking about the challenges that we were facing, this ongoing decline, what that meant in terms of needing to operate more efficiently, what that meant for rate increases moving forward, because obviously we have a fixed infrastructure, and as water consumption declines, that means lower revenues. So we have to operate more efficiently. So first of all, it was educating them on really the crisis that was facing us, why we needed to change and operate differently so that we can not negatively impact our customers. And over time, that message got home, and they understood it.
So when we were talking the last time you were on the show, you're heavily involved with this new movement called conscious capitalism, where we bring together if I understand it correctly, the stakeholders in a business, which would be your clients, your customers, your employees, your investors, of course, and your suppliers. Mm-hmm. And you make everybody accessible, accountable, and interdependent and successful, which I love. I love it. It sort of seems like the way I grew up, it would be common sense. But I know that this is a movement started by John Mackey of Whole Foods and another gentleman from Trader Joe's. I forget the name.
Doug Rao?
Right. And I think that you incorporating this into your business is incredible, because I think many people would say, well, why would a CEO want to do that? Because I think there's unfortunately maybe some misconceptions about how CEOs do behave or should behave or would behave. And so to dispel that doubt, I want you to tell me how you've implemented those 4 pillars into your organization and how you've gotten people to embrace and where you're taking that further.
Sure. Well, conscious capitalism was actually founded in around 2007, so it's been around for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And I recently started, within the last 2 years, a PhD program. And one of the first courses I took had a segment in it called Forms of Capitalism for the 21st Century. And that's where I was introduced to conscious capitalism as a way of conducting business. And the more I studied it and thought about the way the Regional Water Authority conducts its business, we'd really been practicing the 4 principles of conscious capitalism all along, but never really knew what to call it.
Right, now it had a name.
Now it had a name. I was able to understand what we were doing and how our operations followed the 4 principles. So the first one is that an organization should have a higher purpose. And which means that a business should strive to do more than just making money. Now, there's nothing wrong with having profit, obviously.
We all need to make a paycheck.
Absolutely.
Right.
You have to make a paycheck, and capitalism, that's what that's all about. But conscious capitalism says there's more to operating a business than just making a profit. So we're a nonprofit organization, so by definition, we can meet that. But we started talking about what's our higher purpose, and we said, you know, we provide a life-sustaining product.
You do.
To 118,000 homes and businesses, or a population of 430,000 people. And that life-sustaining product not only sustains life, but it also supports economic development and growth of the region as well. So we said we have a higher purpose. Secondly, the second principle of conscious capitalism is based on understanding the interrelationship of all of your different stakeholders, your employees, your customers, your vendors, the communities in which you do business.
I want to just take a break because I think sometimes when I say stakeholders in meetings, people confuse it with stockholders. It's not that.
It's
stakeholders are everybody that plays in the game, and everybody counts.
That's correct.
Right?
That's absolutely right.
All
So
right.
it's everybody that you really have a relationship with and that you conduct business. And so you need to understand that interrelationship, because business is really a very intricate web of interrelationships.
So well said.
And
so well said.
And when you practice conscious capitalism, you don't make a decision that benefits one stakeholder group at the expense of another.
Which is hard.
It can be.
It can be challenging. I won't say hard, I'll say challenging.
It can be a challenge, but that means that when you make a decision, you look at all of the stakeholders that might be impacted by that decision and make sure that you're balancing their interests and you're not making one to benefit another. And a classic example of that, for instance, is laying off employees so that you boost your profits, and that benefits the shareholder in the short term.
In the short term.
In the short
term. But then
term.
the customer is sacrificed because maybe service is not great.
That's right.
Right.
So, and then it impacts the communities in which you're doing business in.
Because people don't have jobs.
They don't have
standing
jobs.
in the unemployment line.
That's correct.
Right.
So that second principle, the interrelationship of stakeholders, is very important. And then the third one is to practice conscious leadership. And this is where leaders really need to get introspective about how they're managing and making sure that they're managing more for the we rather than the me.
Yeah.
So that can be difficult when individuals might have personal agendas, for instance. So they really need to think about, you know, are they leading by example? Are they inspiring a shared vision? Are they supporting the higher purpose? Are they taking into account all of the different relationships that they have? So that conscious leadership is very important in communicating what your higher purpose is.
So they have to be authentic, and it has to be greater than them and their agenda.
Absolutely.
And it has to be greater than a short-term fix, right? You're not getting in, you're not getting in, you're not getting out quick. You're in it to win it for the long haul.
That's right, and that can be difficult.
That can be difficult. Well, anything that's great or worth having is not, you know, a simple fix, as
That's
we
right.
know.
Well,
Okay.
and you know, the problem with a lot of corporate America today is they actually practice what has become known as quarterly capitalism. Because they'll make short-term decisions in order to make their quarter look good.
Yeah.
And then the next quarter they've got to do something else.
Because they're on to the next job.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So So that goes back to that relationship. And then the fourth principle is having a conscious culture.
Yeah.
And this is where the leaders of an organization really work very hard to have their employees engaged in the business and to support the higher purpose and to encourage employee engagement so that you have employees that are bringing their thoughts, their ideas, and their creativity to work in order to improve processes, better serve their customer, and really make the organization a better place to work.
So when we took a vacation to Stowe this summer, we went to the Ben & Jerry's ice cream. And they were a great example. And I was thinking about you the whole time and about you coming on the show because there was their social mission.
Yes.
They had it laid out for everyone to see, their culture, their economic mission. And I thought, isn't this great? I have one extra example to bring back to Larry besides Whole Foods or Trader Joe's to talk about.
Yes.
So I do see that it's taking hold. And I want to be part of that effective voice with you. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about it a little bit more. And we're going to enlighten people that don't necessarily work for gigantic corporations of how they can put this into their practice every day.
Great. Look forward to it. Thank you.
We'll be right back, everyone. It's Denise DiGrigoli. I'm so thankful you let us share this hour with you today. It's The Drive here on HAN Network every Tuesday. You can also find missed episodes on demand at han.network.com. Thanks so much.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Drop off your knives to be sharpened, grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers, and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with the Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
For more than 50 years, Triple S has been Fairfield County's expert service for carpet, upholstery, and drapery cleaning. We provide the best in repairs and in-depth restoration, understanding fabrics and how to properly clean and restore them. Our staff will come to your home to clean your wall-to-wall carpet to perfection. We can also pick up your fine carpets and bring them to our facilities. With locations in Norwalk, Stamford, and Stratford, Triple S will get the job done fast, big or small. At Triple S, you can count on our people as well as our cleaning. Find us at triplesclean.com or 203-847-8000.
You're watching the HAN Network, and you're not alone. More than 1.5 million viewers have watched our live sports, news, and entertainment broadcasting since the network launched in August 2015. Advertise on the network that reaches Fairfield County, Connecticut's most engaged audience. Contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
You know how you can get motivated? You can tune in Tuesdays, 12:30 here and listen to The Drive. I always have great people, ideas, and organizations on that help us move forward mindfully and consciously. And today we're talking with CEO Larry Bingaman of the Regional Water Authority. And what I love about this is conscious capitalism has been around for many years. This is just a name we put on it so that we can talk about it in a more formalized way. But it's really talking about good leaders with great visions that want to be inclusive to everybody that's on their team.
Absolutely.
So don't beat up the vendors, don't take your employees for every single piece of energy they have, and be mindful of your clients and the resources around us so we build better communities.
Absolutely.
When I grew up in the Berkshires, that was just good living.
Right.
So what I want to talk to you about today is I'm so impressed that this is ingrained in your culture in the Regional Water Authority. And I know that you've been working on it since 2009, and I can imagine it wasn't an easy ship to turn. So now you've got it moving along. Your company has won several awards, and I know it's doing fabulously, but what does it take to keep it going? Are you teaching your internal teams to mentor the newbies coming on, or to keep it motivated? Because Zig Ziglar used to say, motivation is recommended daily, because similar to bathing, it's just what we need to do daily, right?
Right.
Okay, so what do you do to keep it motivated, keep it in the mindset? Because when things are tough, the leader might say, well, beat that vendor up on the price. Get rid of that crabby client. What is that employee doing, right? Instead of illuminating and seeing what we can do to make it better.
Well, we've done several things. First of all, in 2009, when we did our first 5-year strategic plan, we looked at the values of the organization, and a group of employees had actually recommended the STARS values, which stands for service, teamwork, accountability, respect, and safety, meaning working safely on the job. So the STARS values have become assimilated within the culture, number one, and it really guides the behavior of every employee. And the employees that came up with that said, we want to have a paradigm in which everybody can kind of measure their actions on how they should operate on a day in, day out basis. So the leadership team adopted those as the values of the organization, and we have really made that a part of the culture. They're included on the performance evaluations. Employees are promoted based on how well they adhere to those values. When we have conversation with employees, either to congratulate them on a great job, we refer to the STARS values, or if they have some corrective discussion, we also refer to the STARS values.
So tell me what they mean again.
Service, teamwork, accountability, respect, and safety.
Hey, we can implement this in our households.
Absolutely.
This is universal.
And many employees have said that they're not only great values to live by at work, but also at your home. And one of our vice presidents actually will say that he'll do something at home, and his wife will say, that's not living the STARS values.
I love it.
So.
I love it. Okay, so you've got this wonderful sort of benchmark, right? You have people benchmarking against that vision statement or the STARS. And you're moving forward with your organization, but now I know that you're bringing this conscious capitalism chapter to Connecticut. And if I've done my research correctly, there's 19 chapters in the United States right now and 10 worldwide. Most impressive. I've watched TED Talks with John Mackey and other people from the organization, and I've done some research, and I thought to myself, this is fabulous. Now, Connecticut in general is a very tight-knit group of business people, right? And at times can be hard to permeate. I know you're going to Stanford, I know you're going to Hartford. Tell me about your mission and what you're doing to enlighten people maybe that may want you to or maybe not want you to enlighten them.
Well, we have a founding board which has a group of about a dozen business leaders from the New Haven region as well as Hartford that are the founding board members. And we're working on forming the chapter and getting officially recognized by the official organization. So one of the things that we have to do is to have roundtable discussions in different parts of the state. So we had one in New Haven recently, where we had about 24 people. Matter of fact, you facilitated that discussion. Great meeting.
That was a great meeting.
That was a very good meeting.
That was a good meeting. I enjoyed that.
And so we're planning on having another one in Hartford this fall, and then one in Stamford as well. So we'll hit 3 of the large cities within Connecticut. Then we're planning on having a soft kickoff in November with the New Haven Chamber of Commerce. They have something called the Big Connect, which is a very large vendor trade show. And we're having Doug Roush from Trader Joe's there. That will be the keynote speaker. And we'll have a roundtable there. So after we have done that, we need to complete a strategic plan that outlines how, as a chapter, we're going to move forward, what our goals will be. And one of the main areas of focus is how we can teach other businesses to implement conscious capitalism within their organization. So we have quite a bit of work to go to do yet, but we have a great group of people that are pitching in and helping with it.
So at the round table in New Haven, I come away with this story from Randy Weiss, where he talked about the big fancy Christmas party he used to have all the time, and he has many parties, you know, to honor his people and bring the camaraderie together. And he said at one point he elected to do one less party and to take that money and invest it in his people doing some charity work with the pajama program, which brings pajamas and books to children that frankly don't have any of that. And at first, you know, he only got like 10 people to buy in. And now 5 years forward, you know, that organization, his people look forward to being part of that. And that's connected, and he does have a higher purpose in his organization, but now he has a social purpose. And I think he said at that meeting, it was hard to get them to buy in at first. They wanted that Christmas party.
True.
And now none of them want it, and they just can't wait for that date. So we see that change, we see it effective in your organization, or if not yours and others that you've been mentoring. Do you have any similar stories where, because what I think is what people need to know that own these businesses, yeah, it's going to take a little bit to do it, but once you do it, you're going to find that I think we said the statistics offline were 70% of people didn't like to go to their jobs and 18% were very unengaged, which in my book means poor customer service, and which in my book means no repeat business.
Right.
So I want repeat business. I want people to know that I'm the, you know, go-to gal for whatever it is that I do. And I want to hear your stories. Like, what do you do? What are the success stories? And what have been the challenges to get them there?
Well,
as in Randy's case.
Well, our employees are very involved in the community. They're very responsive to charitable requests. And, you know, for instance, we participate in the United Way, not only their annual fundraising campaign where we, you know, will contribute $30,000 plus through employee contributions.
Wow.
But we also do a day of caring where employees will go to for instance, a home for the single parents, for instance, and they'll help clean it up and do some remodeling, sprucing up and that sort of thing.
Wow.
So we do an annual day of caring. We have coat drives for the homeless. We have toy drives for children. So the employees are very community.
So they're in the mode of giving.
So they're in the mode of giving, and they've always been very, very generous. So that's been something that has been wonderful, and that I think helps us giving back to the community, which is part of the higher purpose with that. So they have some wonderful drives. It not only helps the community, but it also helps generate teamwork and a feeling of collaboration.
And a feeling of fulfillment.
And they just feel that like they're doing something good,
Yeah.
you know. So.
And then I would assume that this whole thing is a sort of complicated spider web of interdependent working. So if you've done something good, you feel good. Therefore, maybe you take better care of yourself, and therefore, maybe when you're at your job, you are more productive.
Right.
And so everybody wins.
That's right.
Yeah. Any challenges along the way implementing this, or with other people or other groups you've mentored? Anything that you need, you know, to help people work through, like in advance, you know, you might get this stumbling block, but this is how I've handled it.
Well, one of the things that we started in 2009 was we started a leadership training program where we actually had the leadership team meet with a facilitator, and we talked about the book Good to Great by Jim Collins and how we could implement the lessons in that book, particularly level 5 leadership, where and that is defined as a leader who really will look at carrying forward the purpose of the organization, leaving a legacy, and really do that without regard to personal benefit. Again, that goes back to that conscious capitalist sort of a leader. And we started talking about that, and then we then expanded that to other managers and supervisors in the organization, so that we are teaching the principles of leadership to the managers and leaders of the organization, and asking them to meet with their employees in one-on-one conversations on a monthly basis to hear how the employee is doing, how they can help remove any roadblocks, how they can help them with their particular goals. And that, I think, is not only helping to breed collaborative relationships, but it is also helping to pass on leadership principles as well.
So statistically, people that embark in conscious capitalism, from you to other entrepreneurs that, you know, are in organized corporations like yours, is what can you say to them? You'll see X% increased work, work productivity, less insurance claims? Like, what are the benefits?
Well,
I mean, obviously, we all want to have a higher purpose. And we all want to have great working environments. But what are, like, give me the stats.
Well, let me go back to the point on your higher purpose. It's been said that the two greatest moments in a person's life is when they're born and when they discover their higher purpose.
I'd agree.
And that is very important, and I think that's really also the same thing with corporations. And once they discover that higher purpose, the next challenge is to get the employees that work for the organization to understand that and buy into it. And that research has shown that when employees support that higher purpose, they're more engaged, they provide better customer service, they look to improve the organization. And the benefits are quantifiable. For instance, a book called Firms of Endearment by Raj Sisodia, who is one of the founders of Conscious Capitalism. He did a study of companies and found that those that practice conscious capitalism over a 15-year period, 1998 to 2013, their performance was 14 times better than the Standard & Poor's 500 companies.
Wow.
And 6 times better than the good to great companies.
Do they specify in what period of time? Was it 1 to 5 years, 1 to 10?
15-year period, so it was a longitudinal study over 15 years of how these companies performed. So they outperformed the S&P and the good to great companies by multiple times. In our case, we've had some wonderful results based on the tremendous efforts of our employees. For instance, from a financial standpoint, we've increased our reserves 2.6 times, and through the collective efforts of everybody, we have reduced operating expenses by $15 million.
Wow.
And you may say, well, what's the benefit of that? Well, that has mitigated rate increases
I was going to say,
by 14%.
That's awesome.
So our employees have really got behind that effort and have done a great job to improve the organization and the way we operate. So they have worked very hard to carry out that higher purpose.
That is just incredible. We are getting a little signal to take a break. You know you're having a lot of fun when you get to the next commercial break and you're like, wow, that happened too fast. So if you want to know more about Larry and his organization, we are going to be talking about those websites at the end. But if you'd like to know about the books he just referenced, you can tweet us here at HAN Network CT or tweet me at Denise DiGrigoli, and we will make sure you get those book references. Stay tuned. This is a very powerful conversation about improving your business and the lives of everyone it touches. We'll be right back here on The Drive. Thanks so much.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
Warm weather, light breezes, boats are in the water. There's no better place to celebrate summer than the Dock Shop. Whether in Darien at 51 Tokenique Road or Westport at 609 Riverside Avenue, the Dock Shop is where you'll find everything you need to kick off summer. From the latest summer apparel to the newest fishing tackle, the Dock Shop will help you get the most out of your next beach day or harbor cruise. At the Dock Shop, you'll find a wonderful selection of items made in the USA and right here in New England, all with a distinct nautical flair. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the coastal lifestyle, this is a unique place to shop. DockShop.com.
Hi, this is Leo Carl from Carl Chevrolet in New Canaan, and you've heard me talk about the Chevy Volt for years. The new model gets 53 miles on EV charge daily, plus 420-mile full range. But don't take my word for it. You need to come in and test drive the Volt yourself. Visit us at 261 Elm Street in New Canaan or online at carldirect.com.
When it comes to local entertainment, we've got it all.
From movies, local artists, etiquette, and more.
Watch HAN Arts and Leisure every Thursday at 2 on the HAN Network.
What's happening up in Hartford and what's trending in the Nutmeg State?
Join Kate Chaplinsky
And Josh Fisher
on CT Pulse live Wednesdays at 12:30 to find out.
We talk to the leaders and newsmakers while breaking down the stories you should be paying attention to each week.
With the help of HAN's editorial cartoonist Doug Smith, we take a humorous look at the news of the week. We talk about everything you were told you should avoid bringing up in polite company.
CT Pulse, Wednesdays at 12:30 on the HAN Network.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break.
If every business had a higher purpose and was inclusive of their clients' needs, their employees' needs, their vendors' needs, and of course the people that invested in the organization, and we all moved each other mindfully and consciously ahead, wouldn't that be a great day? No better guest here to talk about that than Larry Bingaman of the Regional Water Authority, who is spearheading the conscious capitalism movement here in Connecticut. And what I love about it is we can talk about the big brands, Panera Bread, the Container Store, Whole Foods, REI, Trader Joe's, all brands we love here in Connecticut for sure. Ava and I happen to be like Panera junkies. Yeah. And we do. I mean, when you walk into these places, you feel it, right? You feel happy employees. You feel good service, reasonable prices. I don't know what they do behind the scenes to their vendors, but I'm assuming pretty good. So, but we were talking offline, there are also smaller organizations that venture down this road. You just don't have to be a giant organization with a lot of different pods and leadership teams that can make this happen. Someone even as a small business as myself could do it. So you talked about a few of those, 3 in particular. Tell me about those 3.
Sure. Well, there's Fresh Farm Aquaponics, which is in Glastonbury, and they're into growing, as you know, aquaponics, you grow food and water. And they're into growing food in order to help communities and individuals be self-sustaining. And that's really their higher purpose, to bring that technology to communities. Then you also have the Walker Group, which is an IT consulting firm. They're in Farmington, and their CEO is a major proponent in operating the business, not only socially responsible, but understanding the 4 principles of conscious capitalism. So there's 2 examples of companies that operate actively using the principles of conscious capitalism. So you don't need to be a Southwest Airlines, for instance, which operates using conscious capitalism. And one could argue that it's actually easier to implement in a smaller organization like the 2 that I had mentioned. There's also one other firm in New Haven called Happy Life, which is a coffee shop. And their purpose, when you go on their website, is to bring happiness to people through beverages. Right. So, and that's providing coffee to individuals, but their whole philosophy is to make people happy. So it's a wonderful, wonderful purpose to have for an organization like that.
So we talked about them being B corporations, which is now allowed in the state of Connecticut. It's a benefit corporation, and I don't want to spend a ton of time on that, but tell us what a benefit corporation is.
Well, in normal corporate law, as I understand it, corporations that have shareholders, their first obligation of the management and the board of directors is to maximize profits. Right. And supposedly, if a company's not doing that, shareholders can actually bring lawsuits. Oh, well. So a benefit corporation, or B corporation as they're called, is actually another form of corporate structure that allows a company to not maximize profit. So what that means is they can work at making a profit, but they can also focus on that higher purpose and not have profit be the only thing that drives their decisions.
So I want to talk about the higher purpose, because sometimes people hear that and like, ooh, what does that mean for me? And it is really, it's beyond a lifestyle. It's finding something that's important beyond the leadership that benefits the community. So when you are bringing on new organizations, and we're talking about these 4 principles, when people say, well, I have many higher purposes. Of course, I want to make money. Of course, I want my business to be known and be successful. And yes, I want to help the charities in my community, but it's even a little bit more than that. What would you say?
Well, I think the higher purpose is to really define how you are benefiting, whether it's your employees or whether it's the outside community in which you're operating. For instance, a group of our employees recently looked at our former vision. which was to be the best in class providing water and related services. Not a bad vision, but you could substitute that for any other company to be best in class. And of course, if everybody's best in class, what becomes the best?
Right, and then who's second in class? You certainly don't want them.
Exactly. So we said, you know what, maybe we need to redefine that. So we had a committee of employees that looked at that, and they thought about it a long time, and they came up with the vision that the Regional Water Authority is an innovative water utility that sustains life. So that's the water piece of that, sustains life, supports their communities, and protects natural resources for future generations.
Well, I think is huge.
So we look at that, you know, the fact that we provide a product, as I said before, that sustains life. That's our higher purpose, providing the gift of water to sustain life. So other companies need to look at exactly what their higher purpose is. Panera Bread, for instance, is to feed the hungry, and they donate food at the end of every day to the hungry. Tom's Shoes, for instance, for every pair of shoes they sell, they give away a pair of shoes in order to help those that are less fortunate have a pair of shoes. So companies can look at their business, determine how they can give back, but then they've got to implement the other principles of conscious capitalism, because it is more than just corporate social responsibility. It's not making donations.
And I really want to underline that. It is much more than corporate social responsibility, which seems to be just a line item for some people, a must to.
That's right.
This is a way of life.
It is. It's a total way of doing business.
Yeah.
And it really does start with the leaders of the organization, the leadership. And by that, it doesn't necessarily have to be the top executives in a firm or the owners. Leadership is really about behavior.
It is about behavior.
And it's about how your behavior influences others and what impact you want your behavior to have on others. So
because even the janitor can have leadership qualities.
That's exactly right.
And it's important that everybody has something they feel great about, but something that they can help someone else with, right? It's in service to others.
That's right.
And so what I like to say is we cannot, for the leaders, the executives or the top tier, we can't be a success until we make other people a success.
That's exactly right.
And then all the people below, that same thing, from even right down to the janitor. And that's where I think the higher purpose comes from. Beyond, yes, I'm going to donate my time, and I'm going to teach everyone else to donate their time. It's like, what are you living for? We all have our personal agendas, and that's important. We have goals, and we're moving to the next level of whatever we're moving to.
Right.
But then other people need to be moving to the next level of whatever they're moving to, and therein it, for me, is like, do you get the leadership to buy into that? It's way beyond just profit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the beauty of when an organization is able to define its higher purpose, and that resonates with the employees that works for an organization.
That's the click.
That's the click, and that's what gets people excited about coming to work every day.
The click.
And to have them go beyond in order to make sure they're providing great customer service, that they're helping their fellow employee and they're collaborating. So that's really the click. And that way, that's how that behavior can influence others. And you can support that higher purpose, whether it's the janitor or whether it's the top leaders in the organization.
And I think it's important to also kind of restate, then your profits and your revenue seem to excel.
Well, that's true, because the market...
That's sort of like the byproduct.
The market responds positively when you have a great product and you have employees that love to do their jobs and they're engaged. Then the market responds positively to that.
Well, in social media, that's what we call the buzz. But that's old-fashioned referral, right? It's the old-fashioned word of mouth. There was a marketing statistic years ago, and I probably need to bring it current, that said people speak 11 times more when they're unhappy to the 4 times they speak when they are happy.
Absolutely.
And so if you think about conscious capitalism and how that works, because now you've got suppliers talking positively about you. We just had an example at our corporation where a vendor was not performing well. And one person would say, just get rid of that vendor. Be done of it. I mean, you've given this event, and this vendor should be servicing you. But the vendor was going through tremendous growth. And we had done business with the vendor for 25 years. And we had relationships there. And we knew that they could do better. So yes, we worked with some of their top tier folks to say, listen, we cannot sacrifice quality for our clients. But again, people are like, there's another guy that'll do that down the street. Well, what about the relationship? And we took the time to be compassionate, to be to be good listeners. I talked about that in the Mindful Minute. And we said, what can we do to make this work because we want to stay? And they showed, by us just being kinder and being authentic and listening, we didn't say, okay, yeah, sure, deliver a terrible product, but you know what? It worked out, and it really worked out because, frankly, I really valued the relationship, and I could see that they were having a couple bumps in their growth. And then in tandem, they've worked so fabulous with us since. So for me, my little corporation, that's conscious capitalism. Right?
When you have that two-way street like that,
Yeah.
and that mutual collaboration, and sometimes you don't, but when you do, you can certainly work that way, and that's important.
But if I train the people that work for me to think that way, and they approach our vendors that way, then it's better. Of course, sometimes you do have to say goodbye to vendors. I mean, it has to be part of your vision, and they have to share it. If they're constantly delivering a crappy product, and you can't service your customers
Well, and they have to support your higher purpose as well. So it's a two-way street.
And we didn't really talk about that. Do you ever find it's challenging to get your outside suppliers to join in, or your outside resources to buy into this? Because I think for many people, especially nowadays, it's embraced more. It's got to be a little bit easier now.
Well, I certainly hear more business leaders talking about the need for businesses to operate differently. And unfortunately, when people think about capitalism anymore, they've actually attached a new name to it called American corporate capitalism.
Oh.
And that is a code words for really the way Wall Street operates. And there is really so much more to capitalism than just that quarter-to-quarter earnings that
immediate
is such a
gratification.
focus. That's exactly right. So it's important to really think on a broader basis. And some vendors are more than happy to join in with that, and others are still making the transition, and they've not really joined into it. So in one respect, even though conscious capitalism has been present for 10 plus years, it's still catching on, and people are still learning about it. But when the encouraging thing is that when people hear it, they get excited about it.
Yeah.
And
it's a breath of fresh air.
It's a breath of fresh air, and people say, that's what I've been looking for. That's the way I'd like to see businesses operate.
And maybe they'll even think, in cases of Connecticut entrepreneurs, there's a word for it now, and I can do it. So I'm not weird.
Right.
There's a real name for this business model.
And there's an organization behind it too.
And that is what my subject line said: tried and true business model that elevates humanity. And I really believe that, and I know you do too.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's why I admire you so much, because you're really just making this move forward. So that being said, what's on the horizon for conscious capitalism, and what do you hope that this next year will bring for you?
Well, first of all, we're very anxious and excited to have the chapter that we're forming being recognized as a conscious capitalism chapter. So that'll probably be the next several months in order to make that happen. And then to have our soft kickoff event this November so we can tell more people about it, and then really start building the chapter. And one of the things that we want to do is, because so many people say, gee, I like the concepts that are in conscious capitalism, but how do I implement that? How do I do that? And it's a very complicated process, and we're trying to figure out how we can provide that as a service to help people kind of with a cookbook on what they can do in general terms.
A game book.
A game book, so to speak, because everybody's going to be different, but there's certain principles that they have to observe. So we're excited to help others with that.
So you are very busy, and the Regional Water Authority has won quite a few awards, and I'm sure that's because everyone over there is working real diligently.
Yes.
And I don't want to lose focus of that. I mean, you're juggling a lot of things here. Tell me a little bit about what's going on in the Water Authority, the awards you've won, and how do you manage to keep all your balls moving forward?
Well, last year, through all of the work that the employees have done over the years, we were
look at that.
There we go.
There we go. Thank you, guys.
We were honored with 2 awards. One of them was by the New England Waterworks Association, and we received the Utility of the Year Award for large utilities to recognize the great customer service that employees give, employee engagement, training, our investment in infrastructure. So again, that was a recognition of the terrific work that employees have done. And then the second award that we won last fall as well was from the Association of Metropolitan Water Agencies, Platinum Award.
Wow.
And that was for implementing the effective practices of, the practices of effective utilities. So that was done again through all the hard work that employees have done implementing the 10 principles that that association and others have put together on how to effectively manage and operate a utility. So that was very gratifying on the part of everybody, that we were recognized by outside agencies on how to operate the organization.
Incredible.
We were also very proud that we celebrated our 10th year of educating students.
I love this piece.
So we have an education department that goes into the classrooms and will teach students of all ages about the water cycle, why it's important to protect the environment so it doesn't contaminate water sources, what the water cycle is about, and how that plays into supply. And so over the last 10 years, we've actually been able to reach over 300,000 students, which is very gratifying. And we're thinking now of ways that we can teach students that live in the inner cities about fishing and to have more exposure to the outdoors. So we got a great education department that really does a fantastic job of reaching out to the community.
So what's next for the Regional Water Authority? I know you probably got some things over there cooking up. I don't know if you can talk about them, so hopefully you can.
Well,
hopefully I didn't put you on the spot.
Sure. We last year completed our second 5-year strategic plan, and that is a real success story because, as you said, you have very few employees, 18 to 20% that are engaged in an organization, or 30% that are engaged in an organization. Well, we had 52% of our employees participated in formulating our 5-year strategic plan. And it was very, very gratifying to see these employees from all levels in the bargaining units, supervisors, professionals, administrators, come together in a series of workshops and provide their thoughts and ideas on what our 5-year strategic plan should look like. And they did a terrific job and offered some 135 different ideas on how we can expand our revenues through other than water rate increases. And that's to help take into account that decline in water that I mentioned, water consumption. So one of the things that we're doing now is sorting through all the different ideas about what we call non-core revenues to see how we can expand the revenue base so that we won't have to ask for large increases moving forward in order to reinvest into the infrastructure.
That's incredible.
So that's exciting, and we have a team of employees that are working on that, and I think that that'll really be some exciting opportunities for us to provide more services to our customers and others.
We never know where the next great idea would come from, and it could be anywhere in our organization, up, down, forward, sideways, and that is another thing that I admire about sort of the conscious capitalism mentality. It's everybody comes together inclusive. So now you've got your company moving forward and it's doing all kinds of great things. Now we know you're getting your PhD, you're bringing this chapter full throttle to Connecticut. How does Larry find balance?
Well, first of all, there's a great leadership team that I work with at the RWA, and without their support, I couldn't do any of this work. They're a terrific
Takes a village.
It really does, and as I've often said to them, they make me want to be a better leader because they're such a terrific team of people to work with. That's one thing that keeps me centered and balanced, and then of course my wife and 3 kids and our 2 schnauzers also help keep me balanced on the home front. But then beyond that, balancing it all, I just use a simple system of having a calendar, writing in my annual goals, and then on a daily basis, what do I want to do in order to advance those goals on a one-by-one basis, and then having the fulfillment of checking it off. That's a great feeling.
So annual goals and kind of daily tasks, if you will, that tie into that
tie
vision.
Into the goals, absolutely.
You've made that all too simple for me, Larry.
Well, it's worked. It's worked. So.
Well, let's give some websites so people can find you and find out what the Regional Water Authority is doing, and also find Conscious Capitalism. And for people that are interested in learning more about the Conscious Capitalism movement here in Connecticut, do you have a specific site? Do you want them to contact Susan? What would you like?
Sure. If they write to ct.conscious.capitalism@gmail.com.
Okay,
Susan,
you got that, guys? ct.conscious.capitalism.com
at gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
That email will go to our Conscious Capitalism Board Administrator, and she'll be able to respond to their request for information and put them on a mailing list if that's required.
Okay, great.
So, and Susan Devaney, who is our board administrator, is doing a great job supporting
She's fabulous.
supporting the chapter. Yes,
Absolutely
she is.
fabulous.
She's doing a great job.
And then the website nationally is consciouscapitalism.org. And I encourage thank you, Eric. I encourage everybody to check this out. Again, none of this is paid advertisement. None of this is paid sponsorship. This is completely what the Drive believes in. And I cannot tell you how important I think it is for you to jump on these sites and check it out.
Absolutely.
And if you find, you know what I say, what resists persists. If you find yourself resisting the ability to change and look at this, that's when you need to do it the most.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's when
right.
you need
That
to do
helps-
it the most.
That helps with the change.
So I'm so thankful
Well,
you came
Denise,
on,
thanks so
and I
much.
hope you'll
Thank
come
you.
on annually.
Love
and
to.
tell us, especially after the launch in November, maybe next year, tell us where you're at. If you guys have any questions, please visit, email me at denise@denisedigrigoli.com. You can tweet me at Denise DiGrigoli. You can find us here on HAN Network CT, all on Twitter. If you've enjoyed this show, I hope you'll jump on demand and share it. You'll find it on our social media links. And if you'd like to be on the show, again, please contact us. We're looking for people that are as brilliant and as fabulous as you and as Larry. It's all things that move us forward. It's the Drive every Tuesday on HN Network. Thanks so much for sharing this hour with us, guys. We'll see you. Actually, we're not going to be here next week. We'll see you in September. Take care now.